On today's show, we are talking about the new 2025 model year of the Ford Bronco, and there are finally some good changes that are happening with the Bronco and some stuff that I predicted was coming, and people thought I was crazy. And well, stick around. If you think I'm crazy, stick around because we're gonna bring out the truth and see what the dealers were told. So if you have not yet, go ahead and smash that like button for me and hit the old subscribe button if you're new to the channel and you kind of like off-road and Bronco news. I mean, I cover it all, but I do have a warm place in my heart for the Broncos. Bring up this is the PDF that dealers got, and it's giving dealers, because order banks are now opening up, and it gives dealers kind of an idea of, hey, here's what's coming. You know, they usually get a little bit of an idea, advanced idea of what is coming. And even though the order banks are not open on the website, so you can't build and price yours just yet, the dealers, they can go through there and you go, hey, I want this, 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 and they can do that. And they want some dealer stock, and it gives them a good way to get their dealer stock ready. Now, one thing I told you was coming back that I told you I wish went away was the base model. And I don't hate on the base model. It's just when Ford brought this thing out in 2020, I just thought it was a little confusing because you could get a base Sasquatch. Now, for the people that got that, what a great deal. You know, you get the front rear lockers, you don't get all the skids and stuff like that, but you were getting the big 35-inch tires, and that was a good deal. But it was just confusing because the Sasquatch package just got muddied as you got to the King of the Sasquatch package, the Badlands. It just muddied the waters. But I did say when they took it away late 2023 for the 24 model year, I did tell you it is coming back, and well, as you can see, it is now back. And it does say late availability here, if you see that right here. What does that mean exactly? Generally with Ford, that means sometime after July. So I wouldn't expect, if you're hoping to get a base again, I wouldn't expect it till after July. And I'm not going through detail by detail of every paragraph of this thing because, for one, we'd be here 60 minutes, and you've got better things to do with your time. So next up is Big Ben, which is kind of the entry level. You know, early on, it really felt like the entry level when you compared it to the base. It was, I think you could get the mid package or something like that and some signature lights. Past that, it was basically a base. So I don't think they'll muddy up those waters again. I think the Big Ben will still stay kind of that affordable trim. Outer Banks, which Outer Banks is, it's seen many changes. You know, the 2-door went away, and now the 4-door. And you know, I understand the Outer Banks because that's where they're trying to be the more luxurious edition of the Bronco. And I commend them for keeping that around. Now, Badlands, which if you are a Jeep guy or anything, Badlands is comparable to the Rubicon. So you get front rear lockers, you get the stay bar disconnects, just like the Jeep does. And it's made to go rock crawling or pretty much do anything you want. Now, the new for this year is the Stroppe edition, which is not available to fleet. So sorry, fleet buyers, can't have it. But the Stroppe edition is it's just a specialty edition. It kind of takes the place of the Wildtrak. And people like to say, oh, it's just the Wildtrak. And no, because you get stay bar disconnect. It's just sort of a race throwback version. And I compare it more to the Badlands than a Wildtrak. But it is that kind of race edition. You get the special painting and all that, which I don't think is going to be a super popular trim. I know there's people who know about this, the Stroppe edition, like they know about it being the race heritage for Bronco. But I don't think most people are just going to realize what it is. If you notice, Wildtrak is gone. And I told everybody about a year and a half ago, I said, Wildtrak's going to disappear. And I had some inside voices telling me saying, hey, it's a confusing lineup in the lineup because you have Badlands, which is, can do about anything. And then you have the Wildtrak, was supposed to be the kind of desert running little beast. And then as people started ordering the Wildtrak in late 2020, they started teasing the Raptor. And it just didn't make any sense. And then back in those days, was the Raptor going to be, the Warthog, the Raptor? And I still kind of like the Warthog name, but, I understand Raptor. But I did say that trim would go away for those that own it. And it was a popular trim, don't get me wrong. There's a lot to like about that. I think the name was very catchy. But they might use it down the road for something. But I think for Bronco right now, let's retire that name because you just didn't get everything. It was more expensive. And the idea of the Wildtrak was you were supposed to basically get a decked out Bronco. Everything but basically the stay bar disconnect and the washout floor mats. And you were supposed to get hard roof and everything of that. And of course, we all know the problems they had with the roofs, getting those. And they started kind of trimming it back. So I think it just kind of muddied the waters of what it was. And I think they want the Badlands to really stand out. So I think that's the reasoning for that. And Raptor, which we have one. You're going to see a video drop on the channel here in a couple days. The Raptor is what it is. We know it's just a badass, Hellcat, man. It wants to go through the desert, ripping through the desert as fast as it can. Can it rock crawl? Of course it can. It's a little wide for rock crawling here on the East Coast, but I'm gonna see what it can do here soon. And then we have the Heritage Edition, which if you noticed, there's no Heritage Limited Edition anymore. So do they kind of make some changes to the Heritage Edition, because it's basically a big bend with a painted roof and some decked out, some special touches to it, but it was like that. Do they bring it more in line to maybe the Badlands, what the limited edition was, or we'll see what kind of changed around with that. Black Diamond is gone, and now I knew this was coming, and we only had to look at, when I was at the press event for the Bronco Sport, we got to see why. And that is because they do now what's called the Black Diamond package, and so you can get some blacked out features with it. It's some trim features, and once again, it was just a muddy of the water between the Big Bend and the Badlands. It was just sort of muddied in the water there. Like, it was a very price point specific vehicle. And my buddy over at Lifestyle Off-Road has a Black Diamond. I'm kind of sad that his trim is no longer available, but I understand Ford's positioning on it. Now, if we look at what was deleted here, you can see Black Diamond, Wildtrak, Everglades. I've told you for basically since they started producing that wasn't going to stick around long. I've seen too many other brands try to do the snorkel version of these vehicles, and while there is a very percentage of the buyers that want that stuff, I think aftermarket fulfills that way more than Ford wants to. And it's for stamping, I got to see how they stamp that vehicle, and it is a unique stamp to the fenders of that. So does it make sense to sell maybe 1 or 2% of the total Bronco sales as that? Probably not. You can see here also that the Heritage Limited Edition series is gone, which is, they were only supposed to build 1966 two-doors and 1966 four-doors. I would be curious if they actually built that many or if they overbuilt, because it was supposed to be a limited edition, and I would say they kept to those numbers, but I do see quite a few limiteds out there. Now, couple changes, you can see here the 10-speed automatic transmission is now available with the 2.3 engine on the two-door Badlands. So that's kind of interesting, because I believe, if I remember right, that was just a manual transmission on that. And I'm not going to get through all of this stuff, but the Haas 3.0 with Fox internal bypass dampeners is now an option on the Badlands series. And that makes sense, because if you wanted the Badlands, the Wildtrak was getting the better front end, the better steering system and everything. So I understand, let's just shove that into the Badlands as an option, and I think people will buy it. And I think they're still going to get... The sales are still there for that. And for that, those people that thought who's better, Wildtrak or Badlands, I think Ford settled that. I think Ford said, here's what's coming on. Now, a couple exterior changes. We're going to get a high gloss painted aluminum wheel, warm alloy beauty rings, and in its base, Big Bend, stuff like that. Not going too deep into that. They are removing the hoop steps, is now a dealer option. Deleted the two-door from the Big Bend, the Heritage Edition series, base LED headlamps, LED signature headlamps. Looks like for maybe the Big Bend and Heritage Edition. And we're getting some new colors, and which one I've told you about, well, two I really have told you about, but Ruby Red, we helped break some news on that was coming for the Bronco, and that is a good-looking color. Now, will they do like Jeep does, where you get 1 year, you get a specific color, and then they just kind of make it fun, like, oh, what's coming out next year? I hope they do that. But we're going to see Marsh Gray on there, which is, if you've seen any of the Truckline stuff, you've definitely seen these colors. And Desert Sand is coming back. Now, this color was exclusive to the Everglades for a while, and they took it away, and it was odd they took it away, and then it came back, and then they took it away again, and it's been gone for about a year. So I'm happy to see that color actually making its way to the Bronco lineup. And I think Ford pays attention to a lot of the what they see in the aftermarket world. They see people wrapping their vehicles in these colors, and I think they kind of pay attention to that and go, okay, we can adjust to it. A couple of these things, like I said, we could go through this and go nuts, but the biggest thing that I want to show you is in the interior. So this is the biggest changes. In the PDF, it talks about grab handles were going away. Now, I was told by an inside source that they definitely were going away, and maybe in 26 they move up to the pillar here, like a good vehicle should. I don't know that. I can't confirm it for a fact. I was told by an inside source, but till we actually get anything official from Ford, let's just hold to that's what it is right now. But I know that for particular models, they're doing away with the grab handles, which is an odd thing to me, because are they just going to fill it with a block? How are they going to fill that in? It'll be interesting to see when we get photos come along. But some of the big changes here were the trim in the dash there. And let's go ahead and pull that over. What we saw in the Bronco Sport, and it was inspired, they say it's inspired by the Bronco Raptor. And it kind of is. You see that in the Raptor, the kind of the gears around the numbers there. And I'm so happy they finally went digital on this. Now, they probably could have quicker. They like to make changes in blocks. They don't want to 1 year just slightly change this, slightly change this. They like to do this in big updates. And I'm happy to see this being a full digital gauge, because one of my complaints from my previous Bronco, we had a 2021 Badlands, was I just didn't like the small digital screen over here. And then we had the old analog over here. I get it kind of heritage to it, but I just didn't like it, to be honest. So finally we are getting the full digital display of this thing, which is going to be nice. And when I got to mess with it with the Bronco Sport, it was nice to see kind of the sport mode, the off-road modes, and the new graphics that you will see to that. But I'm kind of happy to see that. Now, a couple changes in this, you can see right here, are the rear vents. Now, how many of us have complained forever at the launch, why did we not get any rear AC vents? Still boggles my mind why we didn't get that, but, well, now we're getting it, and they look to be in line with everything we see here. That looks good. You still have your window switches up here, which I think is very nice. Now, we have pushed the USB switches down here, or your USB plugs down here, and your aux plugs down here, so that might make it difficult if you like the cup holders in the floor. You know, aftermarket companies have been selling replacement cup holders you can put down there, and some people like them. You know, it was a nice way to solve that issue till Ford actually gave us the armrest with cup holders, pretty much standard. Having the AC vents back here is a big deal. If I knew what I know about 26 coming, I might have jumped in and sold our 21 for this, but we have the Raptor now, so we'll stick with the Raptor for at least a year. Those that have been waiting for this, thank you, Ford. Thank you for finally bringing us this. And the passengers in the rear of the vehicle are probably happy, because when the doors are off, I can tell you on the spring mornings, or the late fall afternoons, it gets a little chilly back there. Having a little bit of heat might be pretty good. And that's a major upgrade in itself. So as we head back into the cab of this thing, a couple changes that I saw that nobody's really talking about was right here. Look at the charging pad. The wireless charging pad is now putting your phone in that, we'll call it that TikTok mode. So it might make it a little bit easier to grab. That pocket is not as deep, and it was a little confusing because Kelly likes to throw her receipts in there. But when I want to charge my phone in the Raptor, it's kind of a pain in the butt, because then I got to pull all the receipts out. So I think this way, the way they've done it, kind of cleans that up a little bit. It's more of a dedicated spot to charge your phone. And if you look over here, we've got our USB plugs over here. So we still have the ways of charging the old school ways. And we do have a little pocket here. So for your change and stuff, you definitely have still a place to do that. But it was nice to see that Ford has made some changes right there. And once again, thank you, Ford. It looks like you've been paying attention to how people have been using their Broncos. Once again, I commend you for changing this. I think, yes, the rear AC vents, which we knew were coming. I told you guys they were coming. I think this is more of a bigger, like, oh, that's cool that they were paying attention to see how people were using this. But as you can see here, we definitely still have everything up in the dash here. Still looks pretty much the same. I don't see any major changes there. But the start-stop looks all the same. But I did notice a big change right there. Does every vehicle, I can't remember when I read through this. I don't think wireless charging is standard for everything now. But if it is, I can see them simplifying this. But overall, between the screen and just the way to charge your phone, or just, you know, the placement of your phone, making it very handy to get to, very nice compared to digging your hand deep in that drawer to kind of fiddle out your phone. Maybe was a hazard. I'm pretty happy what I've seen of the Bronco changes right now. And of course, you know, some of the things that I think that we saw were coming. Definitely the Wildtrak's kind of sad for those that like the Wildtrak. The Black Diamond, once again, is kind of sad, even though they're going to keep that name around in a package. But that's some changes to this thing, and I'm kind of curious what you guys think of these changes, because a couple I think were well needed. I still think there's a few more changes that are needed, and for 26, I think that's when we see the big refresh in this vehicle. So in the comments below, have you been waiting for, did you buy an early one and like, man, I kind of want an updated version of this thing. New colors might be exciting to get into. Obviously for me, the charging pad, the center stack screen there makes it pretty appealing to want to jump into one of these things. And that ruby red, I love that color quite a bit. And knowing we can get painted hardtops with that now that will be coming, that once again kind of makes it interesting for me to maybe late 25 want to jump into something like this. So whether it be 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, or these badass Broncos, you guys know I love to drive. It's been your All Terrain Nation. I'm your host, David Boyd, and we're out. Peace, everybody. Love y'all.